Welcome to another Story Hour session.
We're so glad that you're going to be with us again.
Today, Uncle Dan is going to bring to us another exciting story from the Bible.
Right you are, Aunt Sue. It's a story about David and some of the experiences he had while fleeing from Saul. This chapter is found in the Old Testament, 1 Samuel, chapters 25, 26, and 27. I call it
Midnight on the hill of Hachilah.
When David learned that Nabal was dead, he blessed and praised the Lord for keeping him from committing a rash act toward Nabal and his household. Then David sent and communed with Abigail.
Mistress Abigail? Mistress Abigail?
Yes, what is it?
There are some messengers here to see you.
Messengers? To see me?
Yes, mistress. They say they were sent on an errand by David.
Oh, you may show them in.
Yes, mistress.
You have come from the camp of David, the David who is to be the future king of Israel?
Yes, madam. Master David has sent us with a message to Mistress Abigail.
Yes?
Master David has sent us to you to take you to him. He wishes you to become his wife.
Oh.
And Abigail bowed herself before the messengers of David. Then she arose and, taking the 5 maidens who attended her, returned with the servants of David. And Abigail became David's wife. Now David was already the husband of one wife, but the custom of the nations of his time had perverted his judgment and influenced his actions. The bitter result of marrying many wives was sorely felt throughout all the life of David, and brought in its wake much sorrow and misery. After the death of Samuel, David was left in peace for a few months. Then once more he traveled north to the place of the Ziphites.
Lords, counselors, and officers of His Majesty's court, Saul, king and ruler of all Israel, enters and sits upon the throne. Bow the knee.
Yes, you may arise. Scribe, what is first on the agenda?
There are a number of pressing matters to be considered, Your Honor. There is also a delegation of Ziphites who claim to know the whereabouts of David.
I'd love to see them first. Audience granted.
The delegation from Ziph are granted an audience. Bow the knee to His Majesty.
You may arise and come forward.
Long live the king! Long live the king!
Yes, now I understand you know where David can be found.
He is to the southeast of Hebron, Your Majesty.
Southeast of Hebron? I already know that. I want to know exactly where he is. Do you know that?
We do, Your Majesty. He is hiding in the hill of Hachilah.
That's better. Now, you're sure of this? David is a mighty elusive fellow, you know.
David and his men are at this very moment hiding in the hill of Hachilah, Your Majesty.
Yes. Abner!
At your command, Your Majesty.
Did you hear that?
David hides in Ziph, in the hill of Hachilah.
Yes, well, what are you telling me for? I want you to get together 3,000 of our best men who know how to fight in rough and rocky wilderness wastes and mountains. We will rout David and capture him.
May I speak with you a moment, David, sir?
Of course, Joab, anytime.
Well, I just heard, sir, that King Saul with a few thousand chosen men are on their way here to the cave to capture us.
This information, is it authentic?
Well, no, sir, it is only a rumor.
Why don't you send out spies and check on the report?
I already have, sir, just before I came here.
Good. As soon as your spies report back, let me know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Joab.
The spies have returned, sir. The report is true. King Saul is on his way here with men who are supposed to be expert fighters in this sort of terrain.
Yes, but did they report where King Saul and his men are camped?
Yes, sir.
Good. I myself shall go and learn their exact location. Call together all the men. Have them report here immediately.
Yes, sir.
Men! I've called you together for a special mission. A number of you will remain here as guards and lookouts. King Saul and his men are camped not too far distant, and he may try to get spies within our camp. Prevent this at all costs. The rest of you, a chosen few, will go with me to penetrate Saul's camp. Be ready to start in 10 minutes.
The king's camp is on the other side of this ridge, sir.
All right. Now remain here. 2 of you, and only 2, will accompany me closer to the enemy camp. Wait, on second thought, only 1 will go with me. Ahimelech and Abishai. Which of you shall it be?
I will go with you, David, sir.
It is well that you go with me, Abishai. You are one of my very best warriors and loyal fighters. Let's get going.
It was night when David and Abishai entered the encampment of Saul.
Can you see them?
Yes, sir.
What do you see?
Well, sir, looks like the king is sleeping there on that flat place. And that... Yes, that fellow near him is his General Abner. And spread out from there are various soldiers, probably in order of rank.
Well, from what we can see, how many men would you say the king has?
Oh, I think the spy's report was probably close. Somewhere around 3,000. What puzzles me, though, is that so far we have come across no guards. And I can't see any from here, no guards of any kind. Looks like everyone is asleep, as though there wasn't an enemy for miles around.
No, there isn't, Abishai.
We're here, camped just on the other side of that hill.
Yes, but we're not the king's enemy. He may be ours, but surely we're not his.
Yes, sir.
Abishai, we're going down there, right into the king's quarters.
What for? What good would it do?
Are you going with me?
You couldn't hire me to stay behind. After all, if you ever needed protection, it's down there among the enemy. Lead on, sir. I'm with you. David, sir, we're in the very center of the camp. Right there is Saul, sound asleep with his spear stuck in the ground near his head.
Yes.
And not a soul has challenged us, even seen us. Very poorly guarded camp, if you ask me.
There's a reason, Abishai. A deep sleep from the Lord has fallen upon them.
I get it. God has given your enemy into your hand this day. David, let me pin him to the earth with one stroke of the spear. I will not strike him twice.
No, Abishai. We'll do nothing of the kind. We'll not harm a hair of his head.
But David, the Lord has promised that he would deliver Saul into your hand. This is it. Saul is delivered into your hand.
Abishai, always remember this. God oftentimes tests us. He places us in a situation where we can choose for ourselves, either to do God's will or our own. This is one of those situations. If I took the life of God's anointed, I'd be guilty of murder, of taking things into my own hands. Saul shall someday die, but not by my hand. The Lord shall smite him, or perhaps he'll be killed in battle. Oh, God forbid that I should stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed.
Yes, sir.
Now, Abishai.
Yes, sir.
Take up the king's spear.
Yes, sir. Gladly, sir.
Also, get the cruse of water by his side there.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go. Get away lest some of them wake up. We'll stop right here.
We're directly across from the king's camp. Only a deep gorge separating us. Why, I could almost throw a stone and hit the king.
Yet it's impossible for him to get here quickly.
We're safe here, if that's what you mean. But why stop we here? What are we going to do?
It's almost dawn, so I'm going to wake him up.
I think I'm beginning to get it. Yes, that's a good one. Hey, wish it were light enough to see the expression on their faces, especially Abner's. General Abner, so called.
Soldiers of King Saul, wake up! Abner! General Abner, you have work to do. You must protect your king. Abner! Abner, why don't you answer me?
I don't think any of them woke up.
Oh, yes, they did. I see movement.
Oh, I think I do, too.
Abner! Abner, son of Ner, general of His Majesty's forces, wake up! Wake up! Are you not supposed to be guarding the person of His Majesty King Saul of Israel?
Abner, why don't you answer me?
Who are you that calls to the king?
Are you not considered a valiant man, Abner? Who is like unto you in all Israel? Why then have you not kept watch over your lord the king? For one of the people came in to destroy the king your lord. This thing that you have done is not good. As the Lord lives, you deserve to die because you've not kept watch over King Saul, the Lord's anointed. Now look around and tell me, General Abner, where are the king's spear and his cruse of water?
I cannot see you, but you have the voice of David. Is this thy voice, my son David?
It is David, my lord, O king.
You were here by my side during the night and carried away my spear and water.
I was, O king. Why do you pursue me and seek my life? For what have I done? What is my sin? Now therefore, O king, let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord. For the king surely seeketh a flea, or hunts a partridge in the mountains.
Oh, it is I who have sinned, my son. Return to the palace with me, David, for I will no more do you harm, because my life was precious in your eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly.
O king, here is your spear. If you will send over one of your young men, I shall give him the spear. The Lord rewards every man for his righteousness, and I would not put forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. As your life was precious in my sight, so may my life be precious in the sight of the Lord, and may he deliver me out of all tribulation.
Blessed be you, my son David. You will do many things, and will succeed in them.
The second half of our story about David is called
David Seeks a Home.
So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. Though Saul had promised to seek to harm David no more, the young fugitive had no confidence in the king's word.
David, dear, what's the matter?
Matter?
Yes, you seem despondent, preoccupied, unhappy, and, well, worried.
All those things? There must be something wrong with me.
There is. What?
Well, I have a premonition, I guess you'd call it. A feeling that the king will succeed in his mad desire to slay me. Someday I shall perish at the hands of King Saul.
Why, David, don't you trust God any longer? He always has taken care of you. He's protected you from all enemies. You yourself have said so many times.
Yes, that's true. It is true. But I first must do all I can to protect myself. When I've done all I can do, then the Lord will take over and do the rest.
Aren't you doing everything humanly possible to protect yourself and your man?
Well, in a way. Well, but there's one place that we'd be safe, completely safe from King Saul and his army.
Completely safe? Oh, David, only when he's dead will you be completely safe from him.
There's one place, Philistia.
The Philistines? You're thinking of seeking asylum with the Philistines?
Yes, we'd be safe there.
But, David, they're Israel's enemy. God's enemy. They worship idols. Why, they do everything contrary to God's will. We might be safe there, but seeking help from heathen, from the Philistines of all people... Oh, I don't think it would please God. Besides, how do we know that their king will receive us kindly? He might even have all of us put to death.
That's the risk we have to take, a great risk. But I just can't ask you and the wives and families of the other men to live this sort of life any longer, moving about like pack rats, never a permanent home.
Well, when do we leave?
Well, when can you be ready?
Whenever you say. We've moved so often it's easy for me to pack.
No more of that sort of thing, dear. King Achish will give us a home, and once again we can enjoy peace and quiet.
We hope.
David's decision to seek safety among the Philistines was made without the counsel of God. The Philistines were the most bitter foes of Israel, and the Lord did not send him there for protection. But the long trials had wearied his faith and exhausted his patience. Now he doubted that he would ever become king. He was looking upon the appearances and not the promises of God. With the 600 men under his command, David crossed over the borders of Philistia.
Joab, call a halt. We'll rest a while.
Yes, sir. We'll stop here a few minutes. Stop! Rest!
Men, friends, true friends, and your families. We've gone through much together. We've had to flee from place to place. We've had no real peace in life or happiness. That's why we're going to seek asylum with the Philistines. I plead with you, each of you, to forget that the Philistines have been our enemies. Display confidence in them, friendship, neighborliness, trust. We are now in Philistine-controlled country. Be careful of the very grass we walk upon. We cannot be sure that they will give us asylum. They may treat us as enemies and make slaves of us, or even put us to death. Philistine eyes are probably watching us at this very minute, and will continue to watch us until we reach Gath and see King Achish. That is all. Thank you.
My husband is a convincing speechmaker as well as a gallant soldier.
Oh, no.
But you didn't even hint, David, if you thought the Philistines would give us sanctuary. Was that purposely?
Purposely? Yes, it was. The men, especially the women and children, must be prepared for anything that might happen, even death or slavery.
Oh, David, is it worth it? The risk?
I wish I knew.
Personally, I was happy in the wilderness, fleeing from place to place. I'm happy when I'm with you, David, anywhere.
A brave speech, Abigail, dear. But I think it necessary for the happiness and well-being of families and wives and children to have a home, a permanent place to call home.
You're right, of course, David. And that's just one reason I love you so much. And it's one reason of many that you're going to be a great king. Perhaps the greatest in all the history of Israel. Perhaps I might even be blessed by being the mother of the promised Messiah, the Savior, the very Son of God.
Scribe, say that again.
David and his men are on Philistine land, Your Majesty.
Well, drive them off. Or capture them, make slaves of them.
The general reports, Your Majesty, that David appears to be on a peaceful mission.
Peaceful mission? David? Well, that is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. David on a peaceful mission? Ha ha!
But, Your Majesty, I think he comes not in battle array, but as a migrant tribe looking for a new land, new places, new homes.
David is a clever man. Don't ever forget it. He and his men are far more dangerous than that so-called king of Israel and all his thousands of soldiers. Perhaps David flees from his king, as usual.
No, sir. King Saul remains at his palace. There is no sign of war preparation anywhere.
Which direction does David seem to be going?
Well, he is coming directly here, Your Majesty, stopping often to rest and enjoy the scenery, as it were.
Nevertheless, have them watched closely. It is going to be interesting to see exactly what he is up to. Keep me posted on his every move.
David and his entourage approach the city gate, Your Majesty. If they request it, should we let them in?
No, not all of them. I perceive David wants to see me. Why, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Let David and his chiefs in, but the rest, they must remain outside the wall.
Yes, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, David, son of Jesse the Israelite, awaits in the outer chamber. He requests an audience.
Is he alone?
Yes, sir.
Bid him enter.
Yes, Your Majesty.
They say David is destined to be Israel's next king. If so, he'll make a much more formidable enemy than that soft-kneed, hard-headed Saul.
David, son of Jesse, to see his Majesty, great and mighty king of the land.
You may approach the throne, David.
Long live the king. Long live the king.
I have been expecting you, David. Ever since you crossed into Philistine territory, you have been closely watched.
I have expected that, Your Majesty.
The last time you came to Gath, some years ago, you feigned madness. For what purpose have you come this time?
For your friendship, sir.
Friendship? You want my friendship?
As His Majesty knows, my men and I and our families have long been fleeing from our king. We're fugitives. We don't know the comfort or the peace of a permanent home. We seek that here with His Majesty, King of Gath, ruler of all the Philistines.
Stated simply, you wish protection from your king.
More than that, Your Majesty. We want a home, a place to rear our children, a place where we can dwell without being molested.
You seek that here with me, a Philistine? And you, an Israelite?
His Majesty is a wise and understanding man.
Frankly, David, I'm flattered that you, a Hebrew, would come to me, the king of Gath, to seek protection. I have greatly admired you and the courage and prowess you have manifested. Scribe, have the court minister of the interior find places for how many men do you have?
Approximately 600, Your Majesty, and their families.
Have him find the necessary accommodations for 600 families immediately.
600, Your Majesty?
That's what I said, and it's an order. Now be gone. Be gone.
Long live the king. Long live the king.
600 of the best fighters and warriors in the world on my side. Oh, this is a great day for Philistia. And me!
My lord and husband is unusually jolly and relaxed these days.
Yes, am I not always pleasant?
Not always, my dear. But lately you've been more that way. You laugh more often. You hardly ever raise your voice anymore. You even sleep better.
Well, come to think of it, I am happier.
You're not nervous and jumpy like you used to be.
You're right. Look, I hold out my hand, not a quiver, as steady as a rock.
What happened to bring this about? If His Majesty, King of Israel, would care to tell his queen.
You haven't heard?
Oh, I am not up on the gossip of the court or the marketplace.
This is not gossip, my queen. It is a fact. David and his men and their families have fled.
What's new about that? They've been fleeing from place to place for many months, haven't they?
Yes. But this time he has left the country, gone away for good.
Well, if this be true, then the crown of Israel will remain in the family.
Yes.
Our eldest son will be the next king when you die.
Yes, and his son after him, and so on and so on.
Oh, it sounds too good to be true.
But it is true. Abner had spies friendly to David, check, and they report that David actually went to the Philistines in search of a permanent home. And Achish, the Philistine king, received them with open arms. They are now residents of Gath, permanent residents.
David is wise, you know.
No one questions that. He is wise enough to realize that he hasn't a chance against me. Sooner or later I would have killed him. And so he fled, wisely.
He is also wise enough to have maneuvered this entire thing as a ruse, to secretly form an alliance with the Philistines against you.
Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. David would no more form an alliance with an enemy of Israel, especially an idolatrous nation, and fight me and his own countrymen than he would... Well, then he would have killed me that day he found me asleep with my spear stuck in the ground nearby. No, my queen, we are rid of David forever.
Scribe, Scribe!
Yes, Your Majesty. Long live the king.
Have you had David watched as I commanded you to do?
Oh, every minute, sir.
His men?
Yes, sir.
Your report.
It is my humble opinion, Your Majesty, that David was honest when he said he came here in search of a permanent home for himself, his men, and their families.
Do you think he would fight a battle on our side?
Oh, I think David is an honest, loyal man, Your Majesty. I think he would repay kindness with kindness and loyalty with loyalty.
Good. Good. The time may come when I shall need the services of him and his men to help me win my battles. David shall be my friend always.
Bless the Lord, O my soul. Bless his holy name.
Happy, David?
Mm-hmm.
My dear, you can't fool me. Your playing and singing doesn't ring with the fullness of joy and jubilance that it once did. Something still troubles my husband. What is it?
It's not altogether me, Abigail. It's the men.
The men?
Yes, I detect unrest among them and their families. They're not completely happy here. They feel, and I agree, that the influence of the idol-worshipping Philistines is not good.
Certainly, well, we're not going back to Judah, are we?
No, I had something else in mind. We need a place away from Gath, a place where we can worship God as we see fit, and where we'll be completely removed from the inhabitants of Gath.
Have you talked with anyone else about it, David? Perhaps if the men agree, you can talk with King Achish. He might just give us such a place.
You want to desert me, David? Go back to Judah?
No, Your Majesty. For the first time in months, we feel safe. We have no reason...
Do you not like the atmosphere of our city?
Oh, Gath is a beautiful city, teeming with business and social activity. It's the heart of the Philistine nation and government. The marketplaces, streets are crowded partly because of the presence of my 600 men and their families. Your Majesty, would it not be better if the capital city contained mostly Philistines and not so many foreigners?
I have had visiting dignitaries wonder why there are so many Israelites here. But where would you live if not here in Gath?
Perhaps His Majesty has some city, a small city, somewhere nearby, that he could give to me and my men as a home.
Scribe, you heard the request. Consult with my Minister of the Interior and find out if there be such a city. Report back at once.
Your Majesty, I am happy to report that there is a small city, not too far distant, that once belonged to the Simeonites. It has not been occupied for some time. It is practically deserted and would make an ideal home for David and his men.
Did you hear that, David?
Oh, yes, Your Majesty.
Your request is granted. The city of... What's its name, Scribe?
Ziklag, Your Majesty.
I herewith give and bequeath the city of Ziklag to David, son of Jesse, forever and ever. So be it. Scribe, draw up the necessary documents and seal them with my seal. David, good luck to you and your men. May you be happy and remain here among us forever.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
So that day Achish gave him Ziklag, and David dwelt in the country of the Philistines 1 year and 4 months.